Welcome back to another episode of Between Us and Y'all. I am Yasmin.
I'm Nafis.
And we want to welcome you to another episode of Between Us and Y'all, where we have conversations between mothers and sons. Today we will have some guests and we'll introduce them shortly. And we want to thank them for being here as we've thanked all of our guests so far. Today we have the Abdullah family, and we're going to start with their mom, Naimah. She's going to be telling us a little bit about a business that one of her sons had. And then we'll give a chance to each of the young men to introduce themselves by age. So let's go from oldest to the youngest. So Naimah.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am Naimah. I just want to introduce you all to Climax. Climax is a company owned by Adam Abdullah. You can go to theclimaxco.com and get your gear from there. We also have on the line Idris, who has certified photography. And then we also have FRVR Records, as well as FRVR CEO producing, and he has some clothing as well. I don't know if he has his clothing on. It looks like he has some Climax on. But anyway, that's all of that. And I am basically, I own my own business, Get It Done virtual assistant company. I've been in existence for over 6 years now. Man, it's been a long time. So you can reach me at www.getitdonebac.com. That's it.
All right, if we can go, thank you, Naimah. If we can go from the young men, oldest to the youngest, if you could just give us a short introduction, give us your name and a little bit about yourself, maybe just 2 things about yourself.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Naimah Abdullah. I'm 25. I'm a musician, producer, and I love to cook.
Okay. Next in line.
My name's Yusuf Abdullah. I'm 23. Just graduated from Oglethorpe University with a business major and a focus in marketing. And I played professional frisbee for a little bit. So.
My name is Idris Abdullah. I'm 21 years old. And all I do now, I just do photography, man. Document the memories.
That's what's up. And finally.
And I'm Adam Abdullah. I'm 19. I got a clothing line, and I produce music also.
All right, cool. Thank you all for introducing yourselves, and thank you for being here. Nafis and I have known the Abdullah family for over 15 years. Nafis and Adam, the youngest of the clan, have been best friends for years. And I asked him a couple of hours ago, when did him and Adam meet? And he told me in the 1st grade. And so they're both out of high school right now. So these are long-standing relationships, that have been in our family for a long time. I remember teaching Yusuf for a couple of months when he was in high school, and I've been with Naimah in different community events. So I'm grateful for you all to be here. Naimah is an excellent example of a mother who's raised 4 very productive and very excellent young men. So we're grateful to have you all here today to answer our questions and join in the conversation. Today we're going to be talking about religion, something that's very dear and near to both of our families. And we're going to focus specifically on traditional versus non-traditional practice and the impact on daily life, like how religion impacts your daily life. And so before we get started with any particular guest that we have on the show, we talk about a motto. Our family motto is to work hard, pray hard, love hard, and play hard. Do you all have a family motto? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, so we were laughing about this because we were like, family motto. So basically, we didn't have a family motto, but we did come up with one. Okay. And that is to be original, work hard, and be grateful.
All right. I like that. That's definitely reflective of your family. From what I see from a person looking in, y'all represent all of that. So that's definitely a good model for the Abdullah family.
Yes.
All right. So Nafis is going to start us off with our first question. And as we go, anybody can answer, but we just want one person to answer at a time. We do want to hear from everyone.
So the question is, we all define traditional and non-traditional practice of religion differently. How do you define traditional and non-traditional religious practice?
Who wants to take that?
I'll take it because maybe it'll help answer the rest of the questions for them. But anyway, traditional versus non-traditional. When the concept that I think about when I think of traditional is basically what is required. That's what I think of in terms of traditional, just because the religion of Islam is just so vast. And I could say, oh, this is traditional, but it may be that I'm in Morocco, or, oh, this is tradition, but it may be that I'm in Pakistan, or it's traditional, but I may be in America. But one thing that we know that is traditional across the Muslims across the world, it are the basic tenets. And so when we talk about traditional religion, that's what I'm speaking of. In general, I think that that's how the boys may also see it as well. Non-traditional to me are the components that you add that kind of bring about depth for you personally. So that may be that may be on the levels of like spirituality, meditation, your personal extended prayers, your personal extended fasting, anything that you do that kind of goes beyond what is necessary in terms of just the basic tenets. I think that that is considered non-traditional and how we're seeing it today.
All right, any of you young men want to tackle that?
Sure. When I think of traditional, I think more ritualistic sense of things and more ritualistic, like to the book type of practices, compared to like non-traditional. When I think of non-traditional, I think of like a much more, I don't want to necessarily say a modern take on things, but practicing religion in a world that's always evolving and trying to figure out how that fits in like your day-to-day life, even though it may not be exactly the same as it was before in the past. It's still being able to adjust to that and fit that religion in your day-to-day life, whether it's showing it outwardly or whether it's just on a spiritual basis and whatnot. Like right now, we're in a very, I would say, non-traditional time. A lot of things that you traditionally would do in religion, you're not even allowed to do with COVID-19 going on right now. So we're having these non-traditional measures that are kind of becoming a little more prevalent at this time. And I think we're dabbling a bit more in that aspect. So.
All right, any one of the other young men want to add into that? And don't feel no pressure if you don't want to. It's totally fine if you don't want to add. I see a lot of laughing. But okay, so Nafis and I'll add in, and I'll add in, when I think about traditional religion, it's very similar to the definitions that you all gave. Some of the things that we've grown up doing, in our particular families or within our culture, because my traditions in California may be a little different to the traditions in Atlanta, even in the religion of Al-Islam. We may be doing things a little bit different. But as far as non-traditional, that's where we are a little bit different in our definition, because for me, sometimes non-traditional might involve doing some things that people might not necessarily say are tradition. For instance, you might have a Sufi community that they're doing things completely different than a non-Sufi community. And somebody might define that to say that's totally not the tradition. Like, we don't know what that is. We don't know what you're doing. That's haram, even. Some people might label it. When in actuality, that's their tradition, but sometimes that might be labeled as non-traditional. You want to add anything? All right, before we move on, any of the other young men want to add anything before I go on to our next question? Okay. All right, so based on your daily religious practice, whether it's non-traditional or traditional, why did you choose that particular way? Anybody?
I mean, I would definitely say I've chosen the non-traditional way of approaching religion.
Okay.
I don't know, at least going to like Oglethorpe University and whatnot. A lot of that, along with the education I got at Muhammad schools, has like really opened my mind up to the way that people practice religion and the way that people connect spiritually with God, whether it's through acts of service or through just their own personal journey. I realize there's a lot more ways that you can be one with Allah, be one with the Creator, than just a traditional going to the masjid every Friday or going to church every Sunday. Like, life is so hectic and crazy now that a lot of people have different responsibilities and means, and people can now go to Juma from online anywhere at any time, and it's recorded, things like that. So, I think these days convenience and accessibility is a lot bigger, and being able to access these uh, vast communities of other Muslims from across the world, and
I think somebody
these
needs to
vast
mute. I'm sorry, Yusuf. Can somebody mute? I think it might be you. We can come back to you after he finishes. It's just a little bit of feedback. Go ahead.
and just like there's vast access to knowledge and to be able to learn about not only Islam but other religions. So I would say I definitely took a non-traditional approach in that way, because I have access to a lot of these things now. I think I can still practice being Muslim and take what I can adjust in my life, because at the end of the day I think Allah knows like everyone's intentions and whatnot. And I think that's the most important thing, that relationship.
Okay. Ismail, were you going to say something before Yusuf started talking?
Kind of said the same thing in a nutshell, to be honest. But I just feel like I don't know. I don't want to say if it's traditional or non-traditional. I just know like what's best for me, and I know of course the basics, which is for all supposed to do the foundation. But I just feel like I also like to study our religions too, and then just look at religion in one, like our religions as one, and just see the truth of all things. You know what I mean? Because if when you study religion, it all starts back and it's like a lineage timeline that starts from the beginning anyway. So it's just evolving and it's just now I think like he said, the type of world we live in now, everything is being modernized. Like racism is still prevalent, but I think though that's with the older generation. I think young kids now they're not even thinking about racism. Like they don't even know nothing about slavery. They don't even know what that is, and they're not thinking about that. So I'm thinking things are going to change. Like religion, they're not going to be thinking, oh, this is that and that is this, because now the truth is coming out. People are saying they're like, oh, Jesus is not white. So now they wondering what's going on.
Right. They asking questions.
So I feel like everything is just going to evolve to just like the truth and one at the end of the day anyways. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they said in the Quran, it says that people are always all Muslims of our religion. So if you're just a true believer, I believe that you're just doing right, because it says in the Quran, it says if you want to be like a people, be like the Christians who study the books. So if you just study and you live in your life, you're waking up and you're doing what's right, you're a true believer.
I like that. Any Adam or Idris, do y'all want to add anything?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of have like a mix of kind of both, because it's just like the people that I'm around, like when I was younger and everything, like I'm like around the masjid a lot and everything, and I'm around like other people that I guess you could say that practice like the traditional way, but as I got older, and when I went into high school, I moved, and like my high school is like very diverse and everything, and like I wasn't really able to make it to like every Juma and like be around like a ton of Muslims and everything. So I kind of felt like towards that way, it was kind of like the non-traditional way.
Okay.
Sort of. But yeah, I feel like I kind of have like a mix of both.
Okay. Idris?
I feel like for me personally, I feel like I would take more of the traditional way, I guess you would say, but I got a mix of both. But really, in terms of the whole thing, because I feel like going the traditional route, I feel like it just makes my life easier. It just makes it easy. I feel like following like the Sunnah and the Quran, I just feel like it just makes the way I view the world and like just everything in general just makes it easy for me. It also brings peace to my heart. Like I always know that with Allah, you know what I'm saying? I always have Allah in anything I do. It just makes it feel like He's with me, and I don't have to really worry too much about what's going on in the world, because I know Allah, He in control of it all. So,
That's good. Naimah, how does it feel to hear your young men talk about their views on religion in that way?
Yeah. I mean, this sounds about right. Like this is how they think. So I mean, it just sounds normal to me. But but even from like an adult standpoint, in terms of like traditional versus non-traditional, I think that those they can kind of I know that I take both a traditional versus and non-traditional approach, like establishing a traditional approach, but then using non-tradition when it's necessary. And just really, just even in, bringing my children up in a traditional / non-traditional way. When they're younger, going to the masjid all the time, being around Islam, going to functions and all these different things. But as they got older, letting them kind of move into their own space when it comes to religion. So I think that that's why, whatever is comfortable for them is where they've landed. And to me, I'm good with that. And I know that me personally, I take both a traditional and non-traditional approach, not just because I'm Muslim, but because I'm an African-American Muslim. And to me, that in and of itself leads and lends itself sometimes to non-tradition, because no, I'm not going to be wearing a burqa, or, it just depends upon like how people in general look at tradition, as I said earlier. But if we're looking at just the tenets of Islam, I think that the tenets are good. And then I like to fall into the non-traditional roles when it comes to other things as well.
All right, so I appreciate your openness, for our listeners that are listening. Oftentimes, mothers are not having these conversations with their children. They're just expecting them to just follow whatever they have been, teaching them for their whole lives, and not allowing them to, walk their own path. So it's impressive to hear a mom of 4 young men, all of y'all kind of had different views, what I mean? But it all seems to be cohesive as a family. So that's impressive. Did you want to add anything before we move on that question?
It was kind of on same lines as like what Adam said, like going to high school that's much like diverse, and also not being able to go to the masjid a lot. So having to figure out for yourself like your foundation, or like where you come from, and knowing that God is, always there and showing you what you need to do and how you need to do it, and just making sure that I have my head on straight. So.
All right. So our next question, Hafiz.
The next question is: are there any other religious practices that you pull from that you found beneficial?
And I heard Ismail talk a little bit about Christianity earlier. So for anyone, all of y'all, are there any particular religious practices that you pull from that you found beneficial?
That's been beneficial?
Yeah. When you were talking about Christianity, this is kind of along the line of what this question is about. We might have seen something in another religion that we say, I like that, and you take it on to be a practice that you do in your own life.
Yes, a lot of basically our religions. I've looked at religion. When I get to religions talk, just people that brought up religions about called Baha'i, I believe, and it's like a mix of our religions. And like I've seen like how they all just have good things. Like I've seen Buddhism have some good things in it. Like how you could just have compassion for somebody. It's just like Islam. That's when I started seeing everything really is the same. It's just for a different type of people. You know what I'm saying? Like God is never going to leave his people. So the truth is always going to get to the people. So that's what I just say. I see it's going to be in our religions. It's going to have truth in it.
Okay.
And that.
All right. Adam, what about you?
I don't want to say I stay strict in Islam, but like, I just kind of focus on like the Islamic way, because, I know that's the right way to do everything. Allah is in everything. He got me.
Okay.
And everything is will by Allah. So just kind of stay the Islam route.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think having the opportunity to, like, going to such a diverse school, I've just learned so much about religion, and like especially being a liberal arts school, like learning some perspectives that otherwise never would have been there. And it's not necessarily adopting these perspectives, but just being able to understand these perspectives and listen to those perspectives from just like all these different religions. I remember having a friend who was atheist and was like one of the nicest people and always did all these nice things and was always so caring. And it like really made me like take a step back and think like they don't believe in like judgment. They're not thinking about like they're going to get punished for doing this or not doing this and things of that sort. So they're really just doing this out of like the kindness of their heart. And it's like, it really made me have to take a step back and think about, am I doing this just because God is saying to do it, or am I doing this because I actually want to do this for someone? Like, are my intentions like pure, or am I doing it for like my own personal gain at the end of the day? And I don't know, it was really like a teaching moment for me from them, because I was like, I'm doing good. Like, if I'm doing good, I want to be doing good because I'm doing good like from my heart, and as a person, I want to be doing good because I'm a good person at the end of the day, not just because God said to do this or not to do something. So I think that that's something that I kind of learned.
Okay. Naimah or Idris? You guys want to add anything?
So for me, I of course like to lean toward the Islamic route. But I have found that as I get older, like using meditative practices are, work really well for me. And then I also kind of think about not necessarily thinking of it in terms of religion, but there are aspects of religion that people may not see it in its traditional form, like making sure that you're healthy and making sure that you're active and that you exercise regularly, and all of these different things that kind of make up your physical being, your spiritual being, your mental being, and all of these different things. And so when I start thinking about those, the practices that I have kind of adopted for myself is, making sure that my mental state is right. Like, I take vacations for my mental state, you know what I'm saying? And making sure that physically my body is right. Because I think that, we're responsible for our bodies, and that we have to answer to Allah on the day of judgment, whether or not we took care of our bodies. So I make sure that I exercise regularly and eat properly. And then I also think about, not just my religious life, but my spiritual life, which to me is connected to how I observe and how I think about Allah. And then, so meditation is good for me, being able to read, being able to journal, those types of things that people probably don't think of in the terms of the religious sense, but I do. And so those are the traditions that I kind of take on right now.
All right. Anything you want to add, Idris?
Well, me personally, I don't really take too much of the other religious views. I mean, I try to stick straight to Islam, me personally. A reason being is because, like, I just feel like, I mean, all the religions, they have good in it. Like Ish said, they have good in it. It has truth in it. But I feel like Islam, like, Allah guided to me and my family towards Islam for a reason. Like, it helps you in all aspects of life. Like, with Islam, it puts you in a state in which that it'll make you more pure. You know what I mean? Like the other religions, they have stuff, but like for example, like, in Christianity or something, like, God's not gonna say, oh, don't drink, blah blah blah. In Islam, like, it's more than just like having a fun time. Like, being drunk, getting drunk like that can lead to other things. Like, so Allah, He's always looking out for you at the end of the day. So I just like to take my Islamic views and put it into my aspects of life, just to have peace, ease at life, and just do the best that I can.
Okay. All right. So I appreciate all of your answers. For our listeners, I'm sure that all of the listeners are happy to hear that we have a family that's open to talking about this particular topic. Because when you have families that have traditional religious practices, sometimes there is no conversation about other faiths. It's just, this is all we're going to do. If you talk about anything else, it's a threat to our family, and this is a threat to our way of life. And so now you're betraying us in a way, so it's fair and it's good to be able to know what your children are thinking, because who knows if you've been doing this thing all of your life, and then they leave your house and they've never loved it. They've never respected it. And it's never been something that's been beneficial to them. So I appreciate you all for sharing that. And for any listeners who have a different, point of view, that's fine. But the most important thing is to understand what the point of view is so that you can respect it. So our next question is about, there's this religion of Islam that we practice as being described as a way of life. How has Islam become a factor in your daily life? And I've heard you all talk about it, but just give me some examples about how it's been like you use it in your regular everyday life. Anybody?
I mean, we're fasting right now.
Okay. That's perfect.
I don't know. It's been a really great example to a lot of my friends who aren't Muslim, because a lot of them are like, oh, why do you fast and things like that. And outside of like my relationship with God and like religious purposes, it's like there's a physical benefit to it as well, and like a mental benefit to it as well. Like you're getting rid of all these toxic thoughts and these um, uh, toxicities that you're putting in your body. You're putting in all this junk food and things in your body throughout the day. And during Ramadan, it's really showing me like a lot of this stuff is like hurting my mental and physical health. And it's really crazy. Almost every year before this, typically I'm like at some ultimate frisbee tournament right now, like playing in a tournament while fasting.
Mm.
And it's like everyone goes like, oh my God, that's impossible, that's crazy, but you're so strong. And it's like, you know, Allah gives me the strength at the end of the day. And it's just like, it's something easy at this point. But also I feel so much healthier after these tournaments. I'm in better shape than a lot of these people. And it's like, those are just like some benefits that Islam has given me outside of like a religious context. So I've even had like some friends now who are like, oh, I'm going to fast with you. I'm going to try this out with you. I'm going to work out while fasting just like you are. And I'm like, all right, you know, join in on me. And they're seeing like a different side of me and a side of me that's a little more like relaxed and a little more patient and whatnot than what I usually would be. So.
Okay. Naima? Oh, Idris? Sorry.
Yeah, I think Idris wanted to answer. Okay. I wanted to say something about them. One of the practices that they do, but go ahead, Idris.
Okay.
Hold on, what's the question? Islam. All right. So yeah, so basically like Islam being like in my daily life, like I feel like it helps me out mentally a lot, you know. And I also feel like Islam, it makes me of who I am as a person. Because like say I want to do something or anything in life, like I always think about Allah, about the income, about the outcome of it. Like I also think about reward I would get from it, how it would benefit not just me but other people, you know. Because if I want to do something and I know that it like if I do good, it makes me feel good, you know. And not only make me feel good, I know that Allah, I'm pleasing Allah at the end of the day. You know, when I'm doing that, also makes somebody else feel good in the inside too. So just having the daily routine and just trying to like follow the sunnah and follow the prophet, I feel like it makes me of who I am as an individual, and it makes me wholesome.
Okay, that's powerful. Naima?
I was gonna say one thing that affects their daily life is prayer. You know, so like we all kind of, you know, we all live together. Except for Yusuf, but just us all living together, you know, just, I mean, it's a big deal to have your children like call the adhan on their own, and to have their children say, hey mom, we're gonna pray, do you want to pray with us, or are you gonna pray, you know, and just to have the zeal and the desire to pray on their own without somebody having to beat them with a stick or tell them 15-20 times like it's time for prayer, like we're gonna pray and we're gonna get back to what we're doing in our real life, you know what I'm saying? But that, I mean, that to them, that's a daily practice for them. Like they're not thinking twice about like, let me sit around and miss prayer, and you know, and if they miss prayer, it's like I'm making it up. So, you know, that's important. And so that's something I think that affects their daily life, and just making sure that they're on it. I think that that's important to all of them. So I'm digging out for that though.
Adam, you want to add anything?
Yeah, also, you know, praying, you know, every day, it kind of like censors like my mental, you know what I'm saying? And just having like faith in Allah. Like, so if I get frustrated or like something doesn't go my way, you know, I know like, you know, everything happens for a reason, you know. Allah is in control of everything. And I know everything is going to be straight. Like, if something don't go my way, I just say, mashallah, and it's all good. Like, Allah going to have me straight. See, that's one thing I know that happens in my daily life. Like, faith.
Cool. You want to add anything to that question, Nafis,
I think daily life? Kind of like what they said also, like, in any decision that I make, like, well, how is this going to affect me if I'm going to get a sin from this or a blessing from this? How is this affecting my mental state? Especially, I guess, don't go into school, like, seeing the difference between praying, like, consistently and not praying is, like, this definitely has a bigger impact on, like, your mental state, your physical state, and even your spiritual state. So definitely trying to bring that up more so you can get to a better space for yourself.
All right, and before we move on to our next question, my way of practicing this, religion in my daily life. Let me add your brother back in 1 second. All right. So for me at work, I try to exhibit the sunnah of the Prophet in my behavior, coworkers. Can you mute, Ismail? Thank you. All right, so sometimes, at work, you don't have to announce that you're Muslim for somebody to know that you're Muslim, just based on your behavior. Somebody could know that I'm trustworthy. They could trust me with what they say, or they could leave their purse near me and I'm not going to jack them, or steal no money out of their purse, because that's a characteristic of being a Muslim, or they can trust that I'm going to be fair in the way that I handle my work. I'm going to be honest in that too. And I found that people learn a lot about Islam because of behavior. Sometimes it's not always about your conversation and beat somebody over the head about, what you believe in, but actually practicing it in your behavior. And so that's my thing. Nafis?
The next question is, outside of collective daily prayer, how does your family discuss the impact of your approach to daily faith practice?
How do you all discuss it amongst each other? Or do you all discuss it amongst each other?
What, just like Islam in general?
Just your approach. Like, you all have, when we asked the question about your approach to daily practice, you all were a little bit different, in the way that you practice daily and your approach to it. For instance, Yusuf might be in school doing something a little bit different because he's hanging with his friends.
Yeah.
As opposed to you, Adam, with your music, you might be doing things completely different. But do you all have conversations as a family about those differences? And if so, what does it look like?
I don't say that we have it as like a family, like everybody come on, like we about to discuss it. I just feel like, we all open to like learning and teaching each other stuff. So like, I might just be chilling, doing something, and then like Ish might come and just like tell me something like about the religion, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like drop some knowledge on me, or Serdi might drop some knowledge on me, like about some surahs, or like, some sunnah rakas, some extra rakas, you know what I'm saying? Or something like that. That's just an example though. Just kind of like teaching each other, like little by little, taking upon like small knowledge, like every, here and there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how we discuss it.
All right. Any of the other young men want to answer before your mom chimes in?
Yeah, a similar thing. I know if I drop over by the house, I'm about to be hit with the cutlass as soon as I walk in. Probably from Idris, Adam, they gonna start telling me all this stuff, which it's good. And our family group text, my mom just dropped the jizz in there the other day, which was great to read that. And sometimes my dad up at Dartmouth, he's religious advisor now, so I'll call him up, and my dad and I would just talk about religion and like where it's originated and like how it's changing and how the world's been evolving and how to be able to still incorporate religion in your day-to-day life in a world that's starting to try to make religion seem obsolete. So
Wow.
just try to have some deeper conversations with my dad about things like that.
Okay. Ismail or Idris?
I would say that my parents not like forcing a religion upon us actually helped me get closer to the religion, because a lot of people, they take religion as an inheritance and they never find it for themselves. So having that distance, it helped me like find the religion myself, and not just trickle down knowledge. It helps me go search it and get where I need to go mentally.
Like that. Okay. Ismail, you want to add anything? Okay. All right, Naimah? Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when it comes to, man, I was thinking about something. I'm going to try to go back to another thought I was thinking. I was thinking about, we have these conversations. We're not necessarily having these in-depth conversations about Islam and all of these different things. We kind of just, it's really organic for us at our house. So if we have a conversation about it, like if I see something that I don't like in terms of behavior, I'll maybe talk about a virtue or something that I don't like in someone's behavior and say, hey, you need to check that out. And it's not that you need to check it out with me. I always tell them, what's up with you and Allah? Like, that's between you and Allah, but you need to check that with Allah, So always making sure that they always know that everything that happens is not, you're not in trouble with me, you're in trouble with your Lord. So you check that out with your Lord and deal with your Lord with that. And then, of course, Ismail, I know that, we kind of laugh sometimes about it, but Ismail is very, he has some super deep theological ideas and concepts. So he's always trying to drop all these different gems about like all these different religions and how this is connected and this is connected and all these dreams that he has. And, he's going to be an imam one day. I mean, just all this different stuff. And so although it's, it's somewhat comical, but at the same time, it's like he feels inside of his own self, his own power and his own strength, and that comes from Allah. So alhamdulillah, we just continue to have these conversations, and like when they have experiences, whatever experiences they're having, I believe that, some people don't necessarily believe that you should let your children kind of not do whatever they want to, but just let them grow in the religion and then finding their way. And people are going to make mistakes, and not necessarily beating them over the head with the religion about the mistakes that they make. And then just, for me personally, it's just like, when you are gentle with them about the religion and just gentle reminders. And sometimes, it's not that you accuse them, but I always tell the boys, a reminder benefits the believer. Not that I'm saying that you're not doing this, or not that I'm saying that, this is something that you shouldn't be doing, or whatever angle. It's just that I'm reminding you. And so I think that they can appreciate that aspect of it. And, just, to me, we've taken, me and their father, we've taken a little bit more of a gentle hand approach to religion. And I think that kind of helps them develop as individuals and have their own practice with their Lord in their own way as well.
Okay. All right. So for the next question, I don't really think I need to ask this, but since our listeners are listening, I do want to make it clear that I was going to ask them, has Islam allowed you to express yourself in your own unique way? We've heard them all share their different ways, but I do want to just say, if Islam has not allowed you to express yourself in a unique way, raise your hand. And I just want to let it be known to the listeners that no hands were raised on this podcast episode. All of our hands were down. So we have been able to express ourselves in unique ways. Now, Fisa is going to close us out with our last question.
The last question is, if you had to offer advice to any mother-son duo on the way to support each other's unique ways of incorporating faith practice in their daily lives, what advice would you offer them?
Okay. Looks like Adam got an answer.
Adam?
I'm sorry, Yusuf.
Okay, cool. My biggest thing is go out and experience other religions firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll create a deeper appreciation for your own religion. At the end of the day, like Islam in particular for me, like in high school, I used to go all the time. I have a car, and I used to just go wherever my friends went. We used to go to church on Wednesdays, church on Sundays. And these are my friends I used to always play Frisbee with. There were great things to like hear there. I'm gonna say this is like a Nazarene church. Been to Baptist church, Catholic church, been to Jewish temples. Went with one of my friends who practices like a traditional Vietnamese religion. And it's like I've had all these opportunities to experience all these religions, and experience with people that don't even believe in religion, and it's kind of helped me to appreciate what I have and what I've learned. I always get questions. Oh, well, why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? And blah blah blah. And it's just like, at the end of the day, the knowledge and understanding that I have from Islam has like helped me to be who I am today, and I know I wouldn't be this person um, without it. Without it, like if I grew up Christian, I know I would not have the beliefs and like this open mind and understanding that I do. Um, so I think one of the most important things for sure is to not just look up things, because these days it's so hard to tell like from what's real and what's not. You know, you get people saying, oh, this is accepted and this is accepted and that. The best thing you can do is go put yourself in that culture and get to know those people and get to understand those people. Because if people just read from what they saw in the news and, you know, Muslims are terrorists and they're bad people, but a lot of my friends through me encountered like what a Muslim is and who a Muslim is. And they're like, oh, okay, well, they're nothing like I described. And one of my friends in particular told me about this experience that he had in the church where they were attacking Muslims. And I've been in a church where they didn't know I was Muslim. They were attacking Muslims.
Oh.
I've been in churches where they knew I was Muslim and they would welcome me every Sunday, come back. I was on their list of the church family of like, oh, we'll contact you or whatever. And it's like, if I only had one of those experiences and I didn't go to the other, then I would only have this narrow-minded viewpoint. But luckily, it's allowed me to experience so much and be able to appreciate Islam even more. And like, it's just left me like with one of my favorite verses, which is "Lakum dinukum waliya din," you know, like to you be your way and to me be mine. And the way that I've chosen, I think, has been really beneficial to me. And alhamdulillah that, you know, I'm still in that path. So.
All right, cool. Anyone else?
Some advice for like a mother-son duo. I'd say, like my mom said, you know, you don't want to kind of like force anything on each other. Cause, you know, I know some people where it's like, they got to do it the way their parents do it, you know, or there's no other way. So like, just don't force it. And kind of what Yusuf said, get the experience of yourself, you know. And yeah, just kind of learn for yourself. And then y'all can kind of like come together and just like share the knowledge and everything.
Okay. Idris and Naimah? Any advice? Okay.
Is Ismail still on?
I think he cut that off.
Oh, okay. Okay, so advice that I have for mothers is number one, be gentle. I'm a firm believer in being gentle. Sometimes the boys say, you know, Mom, you're too nice and you're always trying to help people. But I just believe that, you know, being gentle is the way and it's the sunnah. And then always respecting people's individual personal growth. Like every child isn't the same. How you approach one child is not going to be how you necessarily should approach another. And if you want to have some traditions, that's great. Establish those traditions how you choose, but, you know, leave room for non-traditional aspects for your children to grow and develop as well. And then I think the biggest thing is to live on your own personal principles. Just know what your principles are. And knowing what your principles are, if they line up with what you believe, your beliefs should line up with what your principles are. And number one. And so believe in Allah, that's enough. You know what I'm saying? So everything else that happens in our life automatically lines up. And so we don't really have a lot of tugging and pulling and having to force people to do all these different things. And I just believe in giving people growth and giving them room. I'm doing that.
All right. Any last words, Nafis? Or what do you think as far as advice? And you don't have to make anything of it if you don't have any. It's completely fine to leave it if you are fine with the advice that's been offered.
Definitely along the lines that they said, just making sure you have that space to have that conversation, to be open to, this is the way how I see things, and might be the way how you see things. So let's come together and maybe express that, and also understand, even though this might be my mom or this might be my brother, or, you know, at the end of the day, these people are still individuals and they still have feelings and emotions about certain things. So always take that into consideration before you know, maybe drop some knowledge or any information on someone, so they're able to take it or receive it. So. Okay. All right. So we want to thank the Abdullah family for joining us today. This has been an excellent conversation on religion. I intentionally chose this family because I really admire you all's approach to religion.
like when they did their introductions, all of these young men have different walks of life, you know, but they're all very successful in those walks of life. You know, we have artists, including my son, who's an artist as well, and Naimah, who's an artist too. You know, she didn't mention that, but I know her as an artist as well in fashion and other ways, you know, but it's important for you to appreciate whatever your child's walk of life is and understand what it looks like and how that relates to religion. So we want to thank you, the Abdullah family, for being here. This was another episode of Between Us and Y'all. We hope that everything that we discussed has been beneficial. We always advise our guests and our listeners to work hard, pray hard, love hard, and definitely play hard at the end of all of that. And we want to thank you for listening, and
Thank you guys.
thank you all for being here. Have a good night. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you for having us.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you for having
Ramadan
us.
Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Peace.